Alright, so what's going on, guys? So in today's video, we'll have part 2 of the Eclipse teardown. In my last video, I got the radiator, the exhaust manifold, the first part of the downpipe, and the wiring harness removed. So today, I'm going to get the oil drained, get the axles removed, and actually get the engine dropped out of the car. You can see I've already removed the front wheels. I have to get this cross member out here. And then there's just 3 more. There's 3 more engine mounts. There's one on each side, and then one in the back. And I should be able to drop this thing down. The rest of it should come together. I'm sure I missed something that's still attached, but for the most part, that's gonna be it. But in order to get the axles out, you gotta get the hub assembly loose so they can swing free and you have that wiggle room. I'm gonna take this loose and it'll be able to swing out. And then I'm gonna use my pry bars, which of course came from Harbor Freight, and use these to pop the axles free from the transmission. They should pull right out. Now there may be an easier way of doing this, but this is how I know how to do it. So again, if you know an easier way, go ahead and drop a comment down below. Before we get started, remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And with that, we can get started. So that's why I had to go to Harbor Freight to get the movers dialing. I got a pan because I have to drain the coolant out of the radiator. But I'm gonna drain the radiator, drain the oil, and while that's going on, I'm gonna start unbuttoning stuff from the top side. Okay, just sit tight. All right, so the radiator's out. I just did that to free up space when I do get ready to drop the engine. I don't have to worry about hitting anything. Right, the one thing that's really helped has been this nut setter, the little piece on the end that I got from Harbor Freight. It's the Warrior set. And they've got a little magnet on the end, so when you're taking off nuts and bolts, it keeps them from falling down to oblivion like they always seem to do. So this has been a huge help. Definitely recommend these so far. They've held up. But let's get back to it. Alright, so I've just about got everything on the top that I could, either loosen or taken off. I'm mainly trying to get the wires and the wiring harness off the car. What I noticed when I tried this, doesn't seem like my little my little 1/4 inch impact is quite strong enough to take off these exhaust bolts. Now I could probably hit them with some like some liquid wrench or some PB blast or something to take them off. Now so far, this thing has not let me down. It's a rigid 1/2 inch impact, electric impact, because it's got a big 9 amp hour battery on it. So this is either gonna take them off or it's gonna break them, but either way, it works for me. So like I said, my 1/2 inch, my 1/4 inch couldn't do it. Check this out. Like nothing. And they came out clean. Only problem with this thing, it is a little big. So then I'm gonna get that one there. But as I said, this thing is on a whole different level. So for whatever reason, Mitsubishi decided to put this last exhaust bolt right behind like the power steering bracket. Now I could take the whole thing off. I could take this whole thing off. I gotta get to the bolt that's right here. But instead, I'm just doing it the old-fashioned way. Alright guys, so I'm pulling this off. You might have saw it in the time lapse, but I'm bolted this side. It has an O2 sensor on it. That's one of your caps, by the way. And this fell right off. So again, this might have been why I was throwing a code. I thought it sounded like it had a bit of an exhaust leak, but this thing wasn't even attached. Like once I unbolted it from the manifold, this thing came right off. I don't know, but this should definitely not come right off when you unbolt it. I was expecting it to hit the ground, and then I have to, raise the car and pull the rest of it out. But we'll throw this in the trunk and keep going. So now my first step is to get the axle nut off. Now to do that, you're gonna need this big socket here. This is a 32 millimeter. Now fortunately, because I've done this before, I already had this handy. But if you're doing this for the first time, you will need this because these bolts got a good amount of torque to them. And again, this is not a size that you'll probably have. What I'm gonna do is remove this cotter pin here. And you can just use a pair of pliers to straighten this and then pull it out here. And again, and then slide the axle nut over and take this right off. Then I'm gonna remove these 2 bolts here and it should pull out and give me enough room. It should just kind of come out like this and give me enough room to pop the axle out. So we'll see how that goes. Now with that done, I'll be able to get my pry bar and be able to pull the axle out. Then I'll just have to get under the car, remove that cross beam, and then pop the axle out from the transmission. But I'm gonna go ahead and do both sides first and then get that done. There you go. So, like I said, the axle's out. Now when I pop it loose from the transmission, I'll be able to just pull it out on this side. Now you may notice a trend. In my videos, I use a lot of Harbor Freight tools, a lot of Harbor Freight stuff. It's mainly because if you're just a weekend warrior, not a professional mechanic, and even if you are, a lot of the stuff is actually pretty good quality. And then some things like this breaker bar, like these breaker bars, I actually got them on a 4-piece set. Like, I'm not gonna be using them that often, and they'll hold up for what I need to. And especially these Pittsburghs, Pittsburgh has a lifetime warranty, so if it does break, I can just take it back. In the past when I've had that happen, I haven't had any issues. I basically went in and said, hey, this broke. They give me a new one, you know, and then it's just on to the next project. So if you're just getting started, which if you're doing something like what I'm doing, it could very well be the case, something that's relatively inexpensive. There's no need to blow all your money on expensive tools. We can just get started with, again, your Harbor Freight, your Husky. Now Craftsman is actually pretty cheap. Cheaply made anyway, I guess. You know, your local store brands, they'll do you just fine until it gets started. And then as things break or you notice what you're using more and more, spend a little bit, like spend the money and buy those tools in higher quality. But most of the stuff you can get without spending a bunch of money. All right, so once you're under here, you notice this is the cross member I was talking about. I already took the 2 bolts off in the front, and then this is where that engine mount, that front engine mount was. Then there's going to be another bolt. There's another bolt there. There's going to be one more that's actually back here. So there's 2 more. And then this whole brace will come off, and then I can take the axles out. And this is where the axle connects to the transmission. So I'm going to put my pry bar right at the end of this boot. I'll put my pry bar right behind here, and this will pop out, and the whole axle will come out. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And you can see with the exhaust, like I said, wasn't attached to anything, so I'm not sure what happened. So I got those bolts off. They were actually a 14 millimeter. The front ones are 17, but the ones in the back were 14. Yep, and that's off. And I'm gonna get back under there, get those axle loops and pull those off. What are you doing? There we go. So the long one is actually for the passenger side, and the shorter one is for the driver's side. In this particular car. Now the passenger side actually came out pretty easily. For some reason this one wanted to give me a little bit of trouble, but they both just pulled right off. So I'm gonna hook these back up just so they're out of the way. So now I'm gonna go ahead and drain the oil, and while that's draining, I'm gonna undo the motor mounts. So I should be able to have the engine out in about 35 minutes or so. All right, so now I've got the oil draining. So like I said, I'm gonna get started on the motor mounts. It's actually right back in here. I'm not sure if you can see that from the, it's actually right there. It's just that one bolt that holds the engine on. And then there's a couple more bolts that'll hold it to the frame itself. But most of the time you only take that one off. Like that brake fluid should not be that color. Anyway, so there's the engine mount. Like I said, there. There's the one that's here. And my assistant looking it over to make sure I'm doing a good job. Like, so I'm gonna do the back one first. And then I'm gonna get my floor jack, put it under the engine to support it, and then start taking these 2 off. All right, guys, so I got the engine out. Unfortunately, I did make a bit of a mess, so I'm about to take time to clean that up. But again, this is still my favorite way to do this. Again, it's pretty much hassle-free. The only real issue that I ran into is because I only have the one floor jack, is getting it up high enough. It's getting the jack up high enough so I can raise the car to clear the engine. So what I did, put this block here on the jack and put it on part of the frame. And that's what gave me those extra few inches of clearance that I need to get the engine out. But again, as you can see, the whole engine out, I had to plug a few holes. Got the entire thing out, and it didn't take me that long. It only took me, it actually took me, I said 35 minutes, it actually took me closer to 45, maybe even 50 minutes. But again, just because as the engine started to tilt, coolant started leaking out of certain areas, and I tried to plug them. I kind of panic plugged them as I did it. But like I said, the engine's out. That was my goal for the day. So I'm gonna put my wheels back on, get the car pushed out of the garage, just so I can clean this mess up. But that's really it. There's not a whole lot to removing the engine out of a car. So thank you guys for watching my video. If you didn't at the beginning of the video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later.